You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, fave, subscribe, hit those notifications. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform of choice, please give us a 5-star review and actually write out why you like the show. All that kind of stuff helps boost us in the algorithms. You guys should know this by now. I'm assuming you're listening every week. And if not, why not? It's free. Come on, guys. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, take a minute and just comment something. Just say, hey, I'm leaving a comment, whatever. All that kind of nonsense boosts us in the algorithm. All right, this week, I have a really great guest. He's very prominent in the manosphere, the men's space. He's a funny guy. You've probably heard of him. He's a Rule Zero panelist. And I think right now I've had just about every Rule Zero guy on the show, except for Modern Life Dating and maybe a couple of others. But it's inevitable. They're all going to come on the show. I think, maybe not. Who knows? He's also the author of the book Fuck Files. That's with 2 C's, FUCC Files. Lessons from a Decade of Women. Great book. Absolutely loved it. We talk about that a little bit. He's also a former sailor in the Royal Canadian Navy. I am talking, of course, about Rian Stone. And he's a really great guy. If you haven't done so already, check out his YouTube channel because his content is really great. And I will bring you that conversation right after this. If you guys are anything like me, you're tired of going to grocery stores, buying grooming products that are designed for men, but they just suck, or they smell girly. I also hate going to expensive department stores like Macy's and getting cologne that makes me smell like a little bitch. I want to smell like a fucking man. And I think most women want their men to smell manly as well. And that's why I've partnered with Duke Cannon. Duke Cannon has products for men. They have products that make you smell manly as hell. They have big ass bars of soap. They have really thick body wash. They have beard oil and beard balm. Hair care products. My favorite is their big ass bar of soap. Smells like naval supremacy. It is awesome. And I also buy all of their liquid cologne. It really makes you smell manly, and they have tons of different fragrances. In fact, I have some for each day of the week. Also, when you purchase from Duke Cannon, some of your purchase goes to help out veterans. And if you use duke.comeonmanpod.com, link is in the description, you get free shipping. Win-win. This stuff smells so goddamn good, and the ladies love it. Trust me. Again, that's duke.comeonmanpod.com. The link is in the show notes. All right, joining me this week is a man pretty well known in the men's sexual dynamics space, a Rule Zero panelist, author of the book Fuck Files, Lessons from a Decade of Women, a former sailor in the Royal Canadian Navy, a man who Rob says describes as a heavyweight coach whose material saved his life. He also thinks the videos I post on Twitter are cringe. It's Rian Stone. What's going on, Rian?
Oh, you heard that one, did you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I hopped on one of your videos you did for your digital Rian account, and you said, "You're like, what are you doing here?" You're like, "I see your videos all the time. They're kind of cringy," and I was just like, "Oh." Well,
not the videos. It's just, you know what it is? Because Ricky Berwick, I don't know if you know who he is, but he always does this thing where, because he's kind of handicapped, so it's easier for him just to record a video response to everything.
Okay.
And every time I think of somebody else doing like video responses to tweets and that's all I can think of there. So yeah, that's where that was kind of coming from.
Oh.
If you don't know who he is, when you find out afterwards, you'll get a good laugh out of it.
I think I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I like video responses. I feel like video responses are just so much easier sometimes, especially on Twitter when the character limit is so small.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, does he think my videos are cringe because of the content or because of
dude, honestly, if it's Twitter, pay it no mind. It's a top of the funnel activity, which I don't know if you're familiar with the term or not, but
no.
So generally, like, I have to earn a living, right? Same as everybody else. But the idea is I like sexual dynamics. It's one of those things I got OCD about. And so I've learned the way you're supposed to do it, like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Top of the funnel is just get people to know who the hell you are. Doesn't matter if it's true. That's where all this like outrage bait and culture war and all that nonsense is. Just basically get known, and outrage is an easy way to get there. So that's where Twitter is. And then middle of the funnel is where you show people you know what you're talking about and that you're credible and that you're likable and all that stuff. And then bottom of the funnel is, for example, where I would put like the book in that. And then the idea is, depending on what kind of level people want to engage you with, like if people just want to see memes and shit posting, they're not going to come to YouTube, but they're going to see me on Twitter. If they want to learn sexual dynamics, they'll stay on YouTube. And if they want, if they really like me and they want to buy a book or they want to get some merch, then they come to the bottom of the funnel, which is like my website and that. If that helps. So yeah, when you see top of the funnel stuff, it's generally just like screaming for attention on a soapbox in the corner, like they used to sell newspapers back when they were building the railroads.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that sort of brings me to my next question, because I mean, we're really going to be talking about your book, Fuck Files, but what I wanted to ask you was, like, what was up with all the internet beef, right? Like Andrew Tate went off about you after a super chat on Rich's channel. There was a whole slew of stuff about Jack Murphy. And then he who shall not be named had his YouTube channel demonetized. And I was just like, why can't everyone get along? But is it part of this ClickFunnels stuff?
No. Well, I mean, that stuff, like, I really can't stand any of them, but not like, it's not emotional. Yeah. Well, like I start at the beginning, the ADJ thing. I don't know if you know this, but originally I was just, working corporate, earning my 6-figure salary, doing information security. And then he and Rollo had something where he was doing a conference, but it was low on money and it was almost bankrupt. And so Rollo's like, yeah, I'll come and do it, but let me bring some people. And then he brought me and other guys like Zach Small. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, because we came from like, we're just doing Reddit and doing this thing online. Like you see Rule Zero Dad and that. He's like, hey, do you want to come give a speech to this thing? I'm like, yeah, it'll be fun. So it was like, we did it pro bono. They give you a hotel room. You come up, you give an hour conversation on a stage about how not to be a moron. And that was going well. First year went really well, and then like saved his company from bankruptcy. And the year after that, he started making real money. And then all of a sudden, one day he goes feral and just goes after calling Rollo a weirdo and harassing his daughter and stalking him and stuff like that. And it was kind of weird. Yeah. At the time, I'm like, this guy kind of brought me in here, and it's Rollo, right? So I'm like, stick up for him. And that's really where that beef started. Mm-hmm. And all these guys just being weird children. And so I was just not happy with it. As far as the Jack Murphy thing, I laugh, man. In 1 week, like I feel bad. You know who Roman McClay is?
I know the name. Yeah.
Okay. This is why I was like, I really hope you read the book before you talk about it, because he had this book out called Sanction, which is like a 500-page manifesto of ramblings and random Nietzsche quotes. I couldn't get through the introduction of it. It was that bad. Plus, it kept telling me I was too low IQ to read the rest of the book, so I just took his word for it. He murdered 6 people.
Oh, that's
and
right.
That was going to be all the big. Yeah.
That was here in Colorado.
Guy. Yeah. And that was that guy. And then Jack got those videos of him shoving stuff up his ass.
Right. Well, I didn't see those videos, but yeah, I saw clips of him saying he was what is it? Sexually flexible or some shit.
Yeah, heteroflexible.
Heteroflexible.
Which, I mean, I don't really care about that stuff. What you shove up your ass is your own business. There's nothing red pill or not red pill about forcing certain behavior, but from a tactical perspective, going on your TradCon podcast, yelling at a poor little girl, probably not the smartest play. Right. For me, it was just gatekeeping. I'm like, we already look bad enough. Like, this space has no good reputation. And so I'm like, I'll just poke at him. As far as the Tate thing, I don't fucking know. One day he just started he posted up pictures of me and my wife calling her ugly as his marketing campaign. So I'm like, that's how we're going to play. And so I put up a bunch of things about how he had scammed a bunch of people and there was some warrants out for him from Interpol. And then I thought it was over and done with. Yeah. And then he started doing this other one. And I found out about it through the grapevine. I didn't even know until somebody did that. And that's my joke now, is because it seems that in the sphere of these $5 super chats that ask a question get people to lose their mind. Yeah. I didn't even like that beef because, to be fair, my first 10,000 Twitter followers and 1,000 YouTube followers came at the end of the Anthony Johnson beef. Jack Murphy got another couple thousand, which was great. The Tate one didn't get shit, so I don't even really care about that beef. I'm actually kind of annoyed. for all this talk about clout, you can't bring any. But I mean, it's all a sideshow.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does distract from the actual message. But unfortunately, I'm finding men are like children in the sense that if you want to give them medicine, you have to get it. You remember the old spoon that looked like an airplane?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that. And you have to feed them that way by making choo-choo sounds and then putting the airplane in their mouth. So unfortunately, it's just the job. Does that answer it sufficiently?
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. You mentioned though that, red pill and red pill content has a bad rap. I've sort of noticed, I feel like people are trying to distance themselves from that word red pill.
Good.
Like
fucking good.
Like I interviewed Rich Cooper, and he was he was saying, he's like, I don't want to call it, I don't like to call it red pill, I like to call it unplugging or something. And I'm just like, it's semantics, right? I mean, it's the same idea.
Well, there's a thing to it. Like red pill isn't just some marketing gimmick. And that's what here's the thing. The people you see that are using red pill hardcore and distance themselves from it are marketers. Okay. I'm talking about red pill. And that started 2008 with a guy called on his blog, Hawaiian Libertarian, also known as Keone Galt. And he came out of the pickup space, like So Suave and that, which is where Rollo came from. And he had come out with the very first red pill piece of content called Game is Red Pill. And it was the idea of, there was two concepts in there. First was the emasculation paradox, which for marriage is like a lot of guys who are afraid of their wife's emotions and like, she could divorce rape me, and as long as I treat her well, she won't do it. But the problem is emasculating yourself like that actually makes it more likely to happen. So the only way not to have it happen is to stand up for yourself and like say to hell with it. If you want to try divorce me, you don't hit your ass on the door on the way out. And then the other thing was the idea of what you're hearing from people and what you're seeing from just experiencing game itself shows you the red pill blue thing. It was a loose matrix thing. Right. And then after that, you guys got Chateau Artiste or Royce in DC. You had Roosh V, pre-evangelical, whatever the hell he's doing now. And you had old Rollo. They were called the 3 R's of the Manosphere. That's why the joke was I called myself the fourth R. And yeah, so then it started from blogs mostly. There was Chateau Artiste, there was Rational Mail, there was Roosh V forums. And then from there, around 2012, 2013, I think, what had happened was this guy went by the name PK Atheist, who was actually ended up being Robert Fisher, which I don't know if you've heard about him, but he eventually started the subreddit for it because he was like, we need a place where we can talk about this stuff. The blogs are nice, but there's no place for people who don't have a blog. And then he mentioned how the men's rights wasn't really useful. They were just like blaming men for everything. And then the pickup space wasn't doing any good because they're just blaming women for everything. And he goes, neither of these are useful. And so that had started there. And then about a year later, this guy named Solos, who I still don't know who he is, we've talked a little bit, suggested that the standard game advice is if a girl's crossing your boundaries, just leave her. Like, you're just dating. Who cares? You're not committed to her. It's not a fucking wife. And he goes, yeah, well, if you're married with 2 kids and a house, next isn't exactly the easiest solution. So surely there's got to be stuff you can do between here and there. And then the married red pill subreddit started. So this is all red pill. Yeah. And there's a very large group of guys that nobody has ever heard of. Like Uncle Vaz, Red Pill School, Wine More Please, Rule Zero Dad, Taipan Shim Sham, who used to be called S-Curve much back then. Like, there's a whole, I could rattle off 20, 30 names. So these were guys, and me included at this time, who were trying things. You know, how do we fix this? How do we do this? And then the red pill canon kind of blossomed out of that. And then around 2018, when the whole Anthony thing started, all of a sudden, everybody who would never heard of started talking about, I'm red pill this and I'm red pill that, and never even heard of Rollo. Who's Roger Tamarsi? And you're just like, okay. So clearly it got popular somewhere. And then KSDJ did her movie that was just basically a Paul Elam men's rights thing. And so a bunch of dick writers jumped onto it. And then that's really what got it as bad opinion. That's how you get that, how would you open 7 ways to be an alpha male, number 6 will surprise you shit. Yeah. So now that everybody's kind of jumping shit, I'm actually enjoying, because for me, it's not like I don't know if you would consider yourself like a coach or a consultant or a mentor or any of that stuff.
I'm a podcast host.
Gotcha. Same. If anything, I am closer to that YouTube account, Internet Historian. I just have 10 years worth of stuff and a really good memory. So I'm explaining to people what things were like for the last 10 years in the red pill. And so when I see guys like, I'm here to save men, I'm here to tell you to go fuck yourself. It's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, so anybody who's marketing has no idea about any of this stuff. You can already tell because the way they talk about things. Yeah. They don't know. they'll bring up some problems and things you should do. Meanwhile, I can bring up, yeah, like, for example, guys are talking about, you don't mind that I'm rambling, do you? I kind of
No, please do. We have to fill up an hour. So
good. So for example, George Bruno, which if you don't know, it doesn't matter. Just know he's one of the marketing guys. Had this thing about, if a girl earns more money than you, she's going to leave you because women like resources, and then you need to hide money under your mattress and shit like that. And I'm like, dude, Ian Ironwood, another big name. He came out from the same time as like Royce and Roosh and them. They call them the old married guys. There was Ian Ironwood, Athol K, maybe, I don't know, not so much Corey Wayne, but around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had talked about it in a seminal post called The Praxeology of the Red Pill, of the Dominant Male, And that came out in 2014, where he mentioned, from time-honored traditions, we're finding that male-dominant relationships tend to have the most longevity and the most happiness for everybody. Female-dominated ones, not so much. And previously used economic input to decide who had dominance there. So what do you do now when 40% of women are out earning men, and it's no longer going to work? Well, It's just remove economic factors from dominance in the relationship. And that's where guys have to realize, having strong boundaries. That's where the sexual marketplace came through, building your attraction, the concepts of alpha and beta, not alpha male and beta male, because that's some more marketing horse shit.
Yeah.
But alpha as in like the hormonal responses to attraction, dopamine, testosterone, and beta being the comfort ones, the longevity ones like oxytocin, serotonin. And a lot of guys realize then, and then the girls too. So girls realize, okay, just be feminine, be yourself, and, don't throw your job, don't try and compete with your man, and he'll tend to step up and do whatever he has to do. And from the guys, it's like strong boundaries, lead with the alpha traits, because she no longer needs providership. I used to bring home the bacon, but now bacon's $3 a pound at the grocery store. So like, what else do you got?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part that gets me. So this is 2014, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We've, for the most part, had it figured out. There was a lot of like edge case stuff, and there was a whole ton of replication being done in the meantime. And it's almost at the point now where, like, with the exception of, I would argue, some of the Rule Zero guys, which I include myself on this one, are basically forgetting everything. And then just like, yeah, be like me. It worked for me. And anyways, I'm just rambling at this point here. What was the question?
What was the question? I think we started off about internet beef.
Oh yeah, why take?
And then it was we were distancing ourselves from the red pill. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was the point. Fuck it. Don't hit your ass on the door on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously, just wasting everybody's time. You're making the whole point of this men's space and the red pill was to be unattractive.
Yeah.
Whisper, another prolific poster, talked about this one. And yes, Virginia, you do have to be an asshole. Anything that doesn't prioritize women is going to be seen as evil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a feature, or it's not a bug, that's a feature. Because back in, caveman days, if you didn't prioritize women over men, your tribe didn't survive. So we kind of have that as an innate instinct. So we're kind of going against instinct right now. And the idea is, yes, you have to sound like a misogynist, because otherwise there's no way to ensure you're being true to your own self-interest. Because that's basically what it is. And we talked offline about it. That was kind of where you had your awakening moments, when you realized like nobody else is going to take care of you but you, so you might as well fucking start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is funny because I want to switch gears and go into your book a little bit. But you have a whole chapter. I didn't write this down in my notes, but it brings me to this because, like we talked about offline, right? Like I got into this space because I had two like major relationships fail. When I found myself back on the dating circuit in 2019, I could get dates, but I couldn't keep chicks around. So I was like, I need to figure out what's going on. So I started looking into books and self-help and stuff. But you have a whole chapter on self-help as masturbation.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, I did steal that line from Palinchuk, so I can't take credit for being a good wordsmith on that one.
Yeah. But I mean, don't you think that men sort of need a little bit of self-help if they're in a position like I was in at some point, but I guess what your point is in that chapter was that eventually you need to take action, right? You can't just read
it's more
these
so
books.
Direction.
Yeah.
Like guys just dig them, like self-improvement, do what somebody else tells you online. He says, drink a gallon of milk a day. Remember GOMAD? All right, I'm drinking GOMAD. Did you ever think of why do you want to drink a gallon of milk a day? Or What are some of the other ones? You got to approach 1,000 girls, otherwise you're not going to be a man. And you're like, well, what does that accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
You need to make a bunch of money. You need to be rich. And I know I don't want you to steal Rich's marketing term, but like you need to be your most excellent and best self. It's like, for what purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys, and this is the core problem with guys who find their way to the red pill out of pure frustration. It's not that women ain't shit. It's not that guys need to improve. It's that they have no idea what they want because they're so unused to being advocates for their own selves. Like, it's when I used to do this, I used to actually consult with guys. And one of the first questions I'd ask them is, what do you want? Out of about 100 guys, nobody had an answer. They thought one up at the spot, but they didn't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize, like, how is any of this advice and self-help shit going to help you if you don't even know what you're trying to achieve? You don't know what a success state looks like. You're just going to end up, you're going to do something, and then whatever happens, you're going to bullshit yourself into thinking it's useful. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. That's not living life. That's letting life happen to you with just like a little bit of self-delusion sprinkled on top, you know? And that's where I came up with the term sprinkling a little alpha on it. That'll solve your problem. Sprinkle some alpha on it, like a cupcake.
Yeah, it's like the idea that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right?
Yeah. But I mean, what does that solve? Anybody can do that. I can read out, and that's where you get those goofballs doing like voodoo and suntanning your asshole, and I can't believe that's a real thing, but it is.
But it's about vitamin D, right? You should try it. It's about vitamin D.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a whole bunch of skin. I don't need that specific part, I guess. I'll eat an orange. We'll call it even. Get my vitamin C.
Yeah, drink a gallon of milk a day. You'll get vitamin D that way. That's
yeah. Does that not bother you when you see it? I mean, I don't want to say bother like you're emotional about it, but you can like see it for its naked brand manipulation. Like it's just a way of parting a fool from his money, and it just irks him.
You know what? After having started following like Rule Zero and there's a lot of talk about grifters and grifting. I do spot it more. You know, I can see when it's a sales funnel as far instead of really being useful information. So that's what I kind of like to gear my my podcast towards being useful, being helpful, right? Like I look at it like I'm a student, I'm trying to learn this stuff, and the people tuning in are guys trying to learn stuff, you know? Yeah. I'm not just trying to sell a Gumroad course or something, you know?
Well, and there's no problem with that. Like nobody should have a problem inherently with teaching somebody something online. I think it's the issue and there's a reason that I use the word grift.
Yeah.
Because do you know where the etymology of grift comes from?
No.
All right. So it turns out it originally was from a term called a graft. And if you don't know, a graft is the amount of material you can pick up in one shovel load.
Okay.
So the idea is they would use, and then it turned into a descriptor where people would graft. And the idea was that was a big swindle, a scam, a con, like P.T. Barnum and shit like that, right? Promise the world, deliver nothing. It's just vaporware. Then, because, you know, English language as it is, they thought a grift is like a small graft. So it's scammy. It's delivering something other than what was promised, not beneficial, generally snake oil, but it's got that undercurrent of laziness to it, like the least amount of effort you can possibly do to wring every dollar you can out of everybody. And I love mentioning this because that's the part about grifts that I don't like. It's not that they're unhelpful, because people buy dumb shit that doesn't help them all the time. Pet rocks or whatever. Yeah. Chia pets. It's that it's lazy. And maybe it's because I was raised on a ranch. Maybe it's because I did military time. But just the working for a living thing, that really gets to me when people like, I can't even bother to like put some effort into scamming these guys. And I'm just like, at least put some effort into it, you know?
Yeah.
Just rent a Lamborghini. Fuck.
Let's talk about your book, Fuck Files. The whole book
keep stalling this one too.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So the whole book pretty much takes place while you were out carousing as a sailor in the Royal Canadian Navy. And as a sailor myself, you know, we have a story as to why we joined. Why did you join the Navy?
I was bored. It's the weirdest thing. Like every major decision I've made in my life was me getting drunk and then following through somehow. I was literally a graphic designer at the time. I was working in Alberta, and then I had moved back to British Columbia for a bit. And I had a lull where I had no work for about 3 months. And then my buddy and I were just drinking, talking about how my dad used to be a paratrooper and he always thought the military would be cool. So we drunkenly called up the recruiting office, went to bed that night, didn't think anything of it. The next morning, there's like paperwork there for us. And I'm like, oh, I guess I knew what I was doing. And that was literally it. And that's why I joined. I'm like, hey, this should be fun. It'll be a nice adventure. I'm sure I knew what I was doing when I decided on it. Mm-hmm. But it was a nice sense of adventure. And I liked the idea of serving something bigger than myself. I kind of got really hooked on the Queen and Country thing. And you know how you were talking before about your relationships was kind of your I guess zeroing out. I don't want to use the term, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The epiphany, that rock bottom moment. For me, it was the disillusionment with the military, Queen and Country, when it turned out just to be careerists, opportunists, and I basically got run over. And I realized that like I was the perfect sailor for about a decade. And then none of that mattered because somebody had like a personal beef. And then that's when I found my way from Terrence Popp into there because he had done a video on administrative violence through the military, which helped me a ton. And then here we are.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask why you got out, because you were in for 12 years, right?
Yeah. 12 years to the day. I actually got out Remembrance Day or Canadian Patriots Day. I don't know why that seemed like something worth memorizing, but
yeah,
I just found it kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, once you're, because you know the terms of service, you got your 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I was at 10. So I'm like, either I get out now or I suck it up for 10 years. And so I decided to get out. Because, well, for example, and this is like, excuse me, the pragmatic approach to it. For Canadian non-commissioned members, you have 5 years to get your what's called a leading seaman, and then usually another 2 years to get your master seamans. From there, what's supposed to happen is you have a seagoing phase and a shore posting. Every 3 years, you need to get a promotion. And then the idea is by the time you hit your 20 year, you should make like a chief petty officer second class, or at the very least, a head of department P1. Mm-hmm. But they take the average of your last 3 evaluations. Mm. So what had happened was the administrative violence happened and it all eventually got cleared. It was all just nothing. And then eventually the Supreme Court of Canada basically said, leave this guy alone, which is great. Except for that entire year, I had nothing to evaluate. So even though I had done nothing wrong, that 1 year there meant for the next 3 years, I was basically digging myself out of a hole. So it was 5 years to my next promotion, which meant by the time I'd hit my 20 year, I'd be like, you know, a petty officer second class, which isn't a bad rank, but it's barely better than what I am now. And I'm like, why would I waste the next 10 years of my life for barely any reward? And then had I earned $25,000 more a year for the next 5 years after I left the military, then financially I'd be just as well off as if I didn't take the pension. And sure enough, I left, earned like 30,000 right out of the gate, more than what I was earning there, and started upping and upping and upping. And I'm like, great, got that goal done. And then found out like I really hate the commute and this is not fulfilling as work. And so I quit to do this one because it was right at the time when we were doing the convention anyway. So I'm like, let's try it out. Always wanted to write a book. Always wanted to start a YouTube channel. Let's do it.
Got it.
Fuck, I don't remember what the question is by the time I get to the end. I feel like
I asked
I'm running a parliamentary question period.
I asked why you got out of the Navy. So you mentioned you got into a little bit of trouble. You talk about getting in trouble in the book and keeping your mouth shut. And is that what you're talking about then?
Oh, part of it. Well, that was because I was in fleet school for a time. And I noticed this is that we had about 40 charges, my students and my friend's students. And every single time it was the same military theater. You stress the guy out, you make him panic about what's going to happen, and then you offer him a lifeline. You're like, look, I know you messed up. Just admit what you did. You do your time. We got your back. And I remember this one kid of mine, Frenchie. I'm not going to say his real name. Plus it's French. I'll pronounce it all wrong. And we gave him that riot act and everybody had his backs. He was like the best student, but he had, I think it was done pot at a party. It's like 2 years before pot became legal. And so he's like, he trusted all of us and he admitted everything and he did his time. He had to go to the Club Ed, which is like a military prison. Not a fucking joke, by the way. And then at the end of it, the entire school basically put recommendations to him and they still kicked him out. Mm-hmm. And so I took that as a lesson. It's like doing the right thing, getting your ass kicked for it. Like, why even bother? And then when the military tried to get me with the same thing over nothing, I had decided like to learn from that lesson. Just say nothing. I basically is like, I'm going to war with the military. Mm-hmm. Plus, they had, like, the only thing advantage they had given on me then is they had prescribed me a therapist, which is like the biggest waste of time I've ever been on. All he did was hand out SSRIs and then talk about my feelings. And I'm like, this is fucking useless. And then once I found those, I found out everybody in the military was on SSRIs. Like, I didn't know. Nobody talks about it. But then once they find out you're on one, everybody was on one. I'm like, holy crap. Like, what is with these guys? I went to war with all you guys. Now all of a sudden everybody's got a cushy office job and they got you on anxiety meds. This is weird. So I got off of that and I found the gym is a much better place to go than pills and that. But yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that's kind of where, I mean, every story came from something. They're all shit in my life because that's the only advice that matters. Sure. I tried this and it worked. I tried this and it didn't work. That's the only red pill advice that's there. If you hear any of this value, like a man should do this, then just tell them to go fuck themselves. It's useless.
Are you a shellback?
Technically.
How do you technically? Because you crossed, but you didn't go through the ceremony, or what?
Right. We crossed the line. We actually did the prime meridian and the equator at the same time just to be cool with this. But at the last minute, the captain said he didn't want to do it because he was worried a film crew would somehow find their way to the middle of the ocean while men and women are dying in Afghanistan showing this ceremony. We had the meal prepped. We had, like, bears were getting ready to kidnap people. We had like a tadpole revolution coming, and it all just kind of went away. So I'm actually pretty peeved about that one.
Yeah. That's
the one thing I was like, I didn't look forward to much in my military career. And that was the one thing. Not only was I looking forward to, but I got let down. So yeah, if we ended up crossing the line, I guarantee you I'm eating the fucking meal again.
They didn't give you a certificate.
But I have crossed the line.
They didn't give you a certificate anyway?
No. Because you didn't do it right. And I'm like,
yeah, you know, it's really sad. So I crossed at the date line. So I'm a golden shellback. I crossed in I crossed in 1998. I was an E2, so you know, seaman and apprentice, and and when I crossed, our captain was worried about hazing. So what he said, like, was allowed was, like, we got to get fire hosed. And we just got our asses PT'd a lot. So we were doing a lot of duck walks across the deck. We were doing we basically got worked out for 24 hours. And
what the hell? Did you not even do the whole Neptune ceremony? Like, none of that, nothing, the pool.
Oh yeah. What they did. Yeah. They baptized us at the end. So, so we did that. And I was sore for like a week afterwards. Cause at that time I didn't really work out very much. And, so I made it hurt, but it wasn't as bad as my second cruise. But I got the shellback certificate. But guys who were like, I'm not participating in this. This is hazing. They still got certificates. And so then on my second deployment, when we did it, it was nasty. I mean, we were like rubbing Crisco in people's hair. People were like like swimming through slop and stuff. And we still worked everyone out and fire hosed them. But the guys who I remember not participating were trying to be all big league to these guys. And I was like, hey, don't listen to that guy. He didn't even do it last time, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say,
he didn't earn it, you know? So yeah,
that's, it was so cheap though. Like, talk about stealing. And I know it sounds stupid, but like, that's some personal pride shit. And imagine just giving it away like that.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It's like what chicks would do.
Right. I wouldn't be able to bring myself to, you know, if I didn't at least do the first ceremony with like the working out and stuff like that. I would have too much pride. I just wouldn't participate again, you know.
Yeah.
But some people
wouldn't have accepted the card. It's like, I didn't earn this.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're the kind of guy that weaseled out of it, of course you're going to want it too. How many guys love the stolen valor? Isn't that like a big deal in the States? It's illegal, isn't it? It's kind of like on that same thread.
It is for some people. I really don't care. I'm just like, I just look at people like that walk around, you know, acting like they served or whatever. Like, that's just sad. You know, I'm not like, that's stolen valor, and I get all upset about it.
You pull your Jesse Ventura.
Right. Stupid.
I know, it's just a weird it's an American thing. Like in Canada, if people found out I was in the military, usually the first two questions they ask were, do I wear bell bottoms? And, oh, Canada has a military. In America, the first two things people would say is, oh, Canada has a military. And yeah, I was gonna join, except for, the hanged toenail, or because of like a stub toe. It's like everybody always had to tell me why they didn't join, as if it's like I'm looking at them and judging. And I realize it's like, I think there's a big insecurity. And this was San Diego too, and that's not really a military town, is it? I mean,
no, it is. Yeah, that's where I was stationed. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they got a base, but I mean, it's a bigger town. I just can't imagine everybody there being like, I want to be military. But I was from Victoria, BC, which is like hippie central. So they hated the military, which is the weirdest thing for a military town.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, San Diego's a big military town. We have 32nd Street Naval Station there. There's Miramar there. So, Top Gun. That's where Top Gun was originally was there. And
I remember. Dude, the day that Kansas City barbecue burned down was the saddest day.
It's built back up. You can go there again.
Yeah, it's not the same though. Is the piano there?
Yep. The original owners
is the piano.
Yeah.
Really?
It didn't get destroyed. It's still there.
Oh, okay.
The company that shall not be named that I work for is still in San Diego. So like I fly back to San Diego all the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hit up Hunter. Oh, is that Horton's Plaza? Go to the hot sauce shop. I love that place.
Horton Plaza is totally different now. Totally different.
Really?
Yeah.
So on the bottom floor, they don't have that like hardcore where you have to sign the waiver to get the liquid capsicum and stuff.
Yeah,
that store's not there anymore, probably.
I don't think it is. Like most of the stuff that's in Horton Plaza is gone now, and they remodeled it a couple of years ago.
Jeez. I don't know, man. It feels like when you find out your childhood home got demolished, you're like, oh.
No, I know. Yeah, because I lived there for 15 years, and I go back for work now, and it's a shadow of what it used to be. It's a total shithole. Honestly,
can you still take the train to Tijuana at least and ride the Zebra and come back hammered?
Yep. Yeah, you can still.
They didn't take everything, thank God. Figured there'd be some like armed guards at the gate or something like that.
Yeah, I think you need a passport now. It used to be that.
It was literally just walk over.
It was walk over and just show either your driver's license or your military ID, and then now you have to have a whole passport to go over there. Speaking of Tijuana, though, what's the coolest port you went to?
The coolest port?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I actually have to think in my head here. So Vancouver, Victoria, Powell River.
Vancouver was awesome. I actually had to go up there once in the Navy.
It's good. We weren't allowed to go because HMCS Vancouver, they pulled some shit last time and smashed a bunch of hotel rooms and say they were banned from their namesake city for like 5 years. So we had to stop porting there for the longest time. It's actually where my wife and I had our first date, funny enough. Then there's Diego, San Francisco. I want to say San Fran, but I mean, it was Fleet Week. Of course it was going to be good. Definitely wasn't northern Mexico. Wasn't the southern Mexico. I want to say Thailand, Patong Alley in Phuket was great. But then again, Dubai. All right, I'd have to say it's a cross between Phuket, Thailand, and Dubai, UAE. Although I guess we were technically in Abu Dhabi, but we just took the train over.
Got it.
Or took a cab over. Yeah, between those two, just the rock bottom there. And I had so homesick by that point. It was like 4 months into the deployment. And I remember there was these Iranian Chads and these Iran and Palestinian. And they were getting into a fight. And then I can't remember which ones, they got off in they were getting in a Lamborghini to take off. And the one group took a bunch of bricks off the street and started throwing it at his car. And I'm like, dude, if you turn that into a Ford F-150, this is my childhood right here. Holy shit. And that's when I kind of realized, like, other than the burkas, we're all basically the same.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was good times.
I never got to go to Thailand. We were supposed to go to Hong Kong once. We were supposed to go to Thailand, but there was a typhoon. We ended up getting diverted to.
Oh no, where'd they take you, to Greece or?
No.
Philippines.
I was West Coast, so we were where the fuck did we go? We went to Malaysia. We went to Port Kelang, Malaysia, and I had duty when we pulled into port. And so as soon as we pulled in,
first day duty?
Yeah, first day. So as soon as we pulled in, I had duty and I couldn't leave the ship. The very next morning, someone comes and wakes me up and they're like, Petty Officer Bauer, we have to get the ship underway. We're getting sore teeth. And so I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even get to go. I didn't even get to set foot in Malaysia.
Somebody got into trouble?
No, there was shit going on in the Gulf. And so they were sending us there. Yeah, they were sending us there immediately. So that was Westpac 2000. It was a shit show. It was just like like we didn't see any ports for months. It was crazy. And then the USS Cole got bombed. So it was like,
oh, that was right around that time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we were in Dubai when the Cole got bombed. So they're like, oh, we're getting underway. And then we were underway for well over 45 days. So we had a beer day because in U.S. Navy, we're not allowed to have alcohol on our ships. But
oh yeah, you guys got your dry ship, and you also have shore patrol. Not saying that those are connected.
Well,
just saying,
we just can't handle our liquor. That's just really what it comes down to. One last Navy question. So in the pictures I've seen of you, you had 2 chevrons. Is that not second class petty officer?
Oh, that's a leading seaman. That would be the equivalent of a E3.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, because the E's is just every year is your E0 to E12 or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well,
you get those at about 2.5 years in, and you'll keep them till about 4, and then your first promotion after that is a merit-based promotion. So you have to get on the merit list, what they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was really early in my career. That would have been like 2004, 2005, maybe. Oh no, wait, 2007. I didn't get promoted till after I got back from deployment. That's right. So it would have been 2007-ish.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because chevrons in the U.S. Navy is a petty officer.
Okay. So, yeah, for us, it's zero chevs.
Yeah.
Then 1 chev for an able seaman, 2 chevs for a leading seaman, 2 chevs and a maple leaf for a master seaman. Then 3 chevs and a maple leaf for a sergeant or petty officer second class, a crown for a petty officer first class, a crown with laurels for a chief petty officer second class, and then chief petty officer first class gets the coat of arms of Canada. And that's the full gamut of NCM ranks.
Got it. Okay. What? I guess one more question. What was your job in the Navy?
Communications. I was they had combined signalman, rad ops, and IT to the same trade. So like 3 trade. They called them naval communicators.
Oh, okay.
Basically, us and the secret squirrels were sitting in there, beeping and bopping, plugging in patch panels and shit like that. The top secret stuff. And I slept next to a chiller that was 100 decibels to keep the equipment cool. That's why I'm yelling all the time because my hearing is shot.
Got it. Okay.
So what about you then?
I was an operations specialist, so radar.
Oh, mushroom head.
Pretty much, I just sat in combat information center looking at radar screens all day. You know.
Oh, so you'd have been. We call those we used to call them NCI ops.
Okay,
that's funny.
Yeah, I did.
I know the guy. Yeah, in the second row of the ops room, those guys.
Yeah, it was good times. I like that stuff. All right, so one of the chapters, you talk about a technique called the cube that you would use on a date to get women to feel more connected with you without the whole interrogation thing. Can you give us a short version of what that is and why it works?
Oh, yeah, it's rapport building. Because, like, it was the old pickup thing, is that you need to talk. The more words you use, the more comfortable a girl's going to be around you, the more attractive you can make yourself, the more fun you make the date, basically. And a lot of guys, I think Black Label Logic Carl, who used to do podcasts with all the time, he used to do palm reading. Other people talk about astrology or MBTI. And this one was kind of like a psychology thing. And it was just a fairly straightforward, it's almost like a parlor trick. You're like, yeah, I got a friend. He was a psychologist, taught me this thing, read my mind, blew my mind. Do you want to see it? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then the idea is you tell them, okay, close your eyes, picture a cube where it's in the room, and it's in a room. Picture the cube. How big is it? What's it look like? What color is it? Whatever. And you're like, okay, open your eyes. You got to draw this out, right? And like, tell me about the cube. And then the girl will describe, whatever, blue, diagonal, doesn't matter what she says.
Yeah.
Pick something off of it. If she says the cube is blue, and you're like, all right, so the cube represents what you think of yourself. And because it's blue, most likely you have like you're a little insecure about yourself. Doesn't matter what you say there, just make an assumption, best guess. Okay. And then the trick is you watch.
It's like cold reading.
It's like cold reading. And the girl, if she tends to agree with you, will start they always nod.
Okay.
And if they don't agree, you'll always get
yeah.
So you just watch the face. And if you get a positive reaction, you say and carry on. If you get a negative reaction, you say but, and then just say the exact opposite of what you said before.
Okay.
It's not rocket science. And then the idea is you add onto the cube with a ladder. Yeah. A ladder is her career aspirations. You add onto that some flowers. and the flowers are her friends and family. And then on that, you add a horse, which is her ideal lover. My favorite part of that one, because like if the girl ever describes, I would love a chestnut brown horse, and then I was just kind of laughing, like, what's so funny? And you explain what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, brown horse, fair enough. I think my girl at the time when he was on her, she said she liked her horse to dance.
Okay,
so it's kind of funny. And so I'm like, yeah, you like guys that are fun and exciting, and of course she nodded to that, and you go with that. And then you ended off with a storm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a storm outside, and that's a girl's greatest fears. And then the idea is you go through all of this and you've learned just about everything you wanted to know about a girl. She gets that like emotional high from like, oh my God, he's reading my mind. It's like a magic trick. And it just helps the date become way more fun. And I think that's what a lot of people missed out of like game, is that it's supposed to be a game. It's like, these aren't tips and tricks to get a girl to sleep with you. It's tips and tricks not to be a boring fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
that's why I liked it.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, I see it, and women too. I see this on TikTok a lot because I'm on TikTok. Chick talk, you say. Yeah. Well, dude, it's funny. It's an amazing way to grow a brand. It really is. So
is it really?
Oh, it's so easy to build a following on TikTok. It's ridiculous. So
right, I might have to actually buckle down and do some of these then.
Yeah, you might want to look into it. Switch it. I think they used to call it a creator account. I think they changed it to business account. But if you change it to a business account or whatever they call it now, your videos go out to a wider group of people, and you're able to grow faster. So yeah, look into it.
Just put like, hypergamy doesn't care, and then just start doing the robot on the thing. And
you could do that every other video. Yeah, every other video maybe. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll do it.
It's got a great source of outrage bait. I'll give it that.
Oh, it does. Yeah. But yeah, going back to it, what I see a lot on TikTok are people that are just frustrated with the dating circuit. Like they just hate dating. So they'll rush into the next relationship because they don't want to be out there anymore doing it. And I'm like,
heaven forbid you have any discomfort in life. That'd be a fucking shame, wouldn't it?
Right. But like you said, like it should be fun. Like so what if this date didn't pan out? Who gives a shit? Like, did you have fun? You should make it fun. That, and I think as a man, like you're leading the interaction, you should be leading the fun. So
yeah, I wouldn't even say leading. I know it's a semantic difference, but a lot of what I would do is, because I get bored really easy. So a lot of the times I would just poke at somebody just to get a reaction out of them, just so I could be entertained. It turned out to be like unintentionally a really good way of like engaging people.
Okay.
But like for example, right at the beginning when I was like, oh, these are kind of cringe videos or whatever. Yeah. You were like, hey, what do you mean my videos are cringe? But then
I didn't take offense to it though. I was just curious.
But that's what I mean. But it's like an engaging thing to say. It's not that they're actually cringe. It's just that I run my mouth. It's more fun to talk about that. And then we can talk about whether they're cringe or not. And I'm like, I'm just running my mouth. Who gives a fuck? But like literally how this is for your audience there, how we could just sit here and have a conversation based on like an offhand comment. You can do that with people. Mm-hmm. In fact, people love it because people are bored. Do you know how bored people are? They're bored.
They are bored. Yeah. That's why everyone's staring at their phones all the time.
Exactly. I remember like it was a very good story, and it's been a while, but I like telling it. Back when the world was still open. And I was working corporate, and there was like a Starbucks right down, and I'd always go down there for whatever. And they had that, you remember that unicorn drink they had, the little colorful one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't know it was there, but then one of the girls working in one of the other offices was down there, grabbed it, and I just looked over and like, what the fuck is that? Like psychedelic bullshit. Yeah. And she was on her phone, and then she looks up and she's like, what? And I was like confused looking at her drink, and she explained it, and we got the whole thing started up there. Not an opener you would ever hear anywhere. Yeah. Basically like yelling at her because her drink looks ridiculous. But just because she's so bored, hey, this is something more interesting than whatever the fuck's happening on LinkedIn right now.
It's not hard to beat LinkedIn,
yeah, and so you can have a 15-minute conversation with a total stranger based on the most flimsy premise.
Yeah.
Roosh talked about that in his book Daybang too, where he calls it old man openers, where just point at something that's interesting about the person, like their purse or their iPhone or whatever, and make an assumption about it that's usually wrong, and then they'll correct you, and then you all of a sudden are in a conversation. And I'm just wondering how many of these people that are so frustrated with the dating market and so bored. It's like you said, it's more than just about having fun. It's about making it fun for you. Mm-hmm. And other people will latch on to that. Like it's so deceptively interesting when somebody's having a good time to just want to join them and to like glean off of that. Cause there's, I don't know, it's a process, and I loved it. I loved it more than picking up. Like, success, fail, doesn't matter. As long as it was a great story the next morning. I'd love it when you walk over to strangers that kind of remembered you from the bar and they have that, like, weren't you that guy? It's like, yes, that was me. How you doing? Come on over. Let's have a beer.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
What changed everything for me was I read Dr. Glover's Dating Essentials for Men book. And he's
any good?
Oh, I fucking love that book. I like it better than No More Mr. Nice Guy, honestly.
Ooh, that's a tall order.
Well, it's really good, I think. There's some things in it.
You got me perked.
There's some things in it that I don't really agree with. Like, he talks about like not going for a kiss on the first date and stuff. And it's really drawing out. Like, he's like, you know, you really want to, you know, save that or whatever. I'm like, why? Fucking why? Like, that's, yeah. But no, one of the things that he talks about is treating dating like a science experiment, you know? And so that's what I started doing. I started going into each date, trying different things, seeing what worked, what didn't, and then like comparing notes and stuff, you know, like.
Well, dear God, that's Red Pill at its core. Swapping notes, A/B testing life. I'm not even joking. That's literally what it is. Yeah. That's what it's always ever been. Guys wanted to get laid, and so they tried things and shared it with each other. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Purest
form.
That's what the Corey Wayne based Facebook group, it's called 3% Man. That's what it all is. It's like hardcore students, what worked out of his book, what didn't, and then what other resources are you using that you're trying that worked better than his material and stuff. So
I'm going to start getting a good opinion of Corey Wayne here in a minute. You're selling him hard.
Well, I don't know. I
don't really know him a thing either. So like, this is a conversation starter. I don't really know much about him other than everybody keeps mentioning him.
Well, I think his book is great. But the man himself, I don't know. He's
that's like everybody.
He seems kind of like, I don't know. He might just be super busy, but otherwise, like, he just seems like he's a little too full of himself, you know. That's just me. But
yeah, fair enough.
So go back to the cube. Now, in the book, when you're talking about the cube, you said you used it on Kat, and Kat is your girlfriend. Is that right?
Wife, yeah.
Oh, it's your wife. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, and then you said at the end,
but yeah. So I had to think for a minute. I'm like, oh, right.
Like, are you guys like legally married, or are you just like common law? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's common law, but Canada, it's different than the States. Canada common law is once you've cohabitated for, at the time it was 12 months, but now I think it's 24.
Okay.
You're just considered married for all intents and purposes, with a couple legal distinctions. And I don't know if you want to get into like the nuts and bolts of it or not, but
we don't have to.
Yeah.
But
yeah, legally, a lot of the problems that guys have with marriage, common law kind of gets around. It's almost like the way marriage was prior to no fault divorce, if that makes sense, except for legally you have to get arbitration. You don't necessarily need any like the family court and shit like that. And most often than not, if you're able to negotiate a settlement, that it'll be rubber stamped. So it really is, it's much better. It hasn't been gleaned onto by the whole family court system. And I'm sure you've seen how miserable that hellhole is.
Oh yeah, I got divorced, so I still deal with it. I have 2 kids, so every once in a while,
poor thing. But yeah,
every once in a while, my ex-wife will want more money and child support and take me back, and it's like, God bless, woman. Like, how much money do you need? You know,
what a Southern thing to say. Bless her heart.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. So, one last question. I think we're almost at an hour here.
Oh wow, that was quick.
So going back to Kat, how has having an understanding of Red Pill helped you with that relationship?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess the best way to put it, it didn't help the relationship. The relationship is up to her. If it succeeds or fails, and this is another Red Pill concept, is that relationships are a woman's job. It's based on Purfield's law. I won't get into the details, but it helps me fix me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm fixed, she's more likely to be invested in the relationship. And when she's invested in the relationship happens. Does that make sense the way I worded it? Because that's the one thing that I think a lot of guys get wrong. They think the red pill is about keeping her around, or the red pill is about fixing relationship. But that's not true. It's about fixing men.
Mm-hmm.
And then women, not necessarily the one you started with, but at least more of them will be invested in you. And that's really all you're after. When a girl's invested in you, relationships are great. When she's not invested on you, they're absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And then the reason they get invested to you is, the things that most guys, distill it to, like sexual market value, or the alpha qualities and beta qualities, or the logistics of having your life together, or where a girl is on her phase of life. Like, I'm sure you've heard Rolo talk about the epiphany phase. So like, if you don't want to start a family, dating a girl that's 28 is probably not going to work out so well for you. If you just want to smash and have fun, younger is probably better, or older. But yeah, it just basically makes me more deliberate in how I am and how I interact with the world. And it just so happens that that's the kind of stuff she's attracted to. And so the relationship is better because she's more invested in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I really got to come up with like a catchy, like, cause it's alpha, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Something that you can put on a
put on a bumper sticker or something.
Yeah. Put on a t-shirt.
Oh yeah. Fuck, I should have worn the shirt today. Damn it.
Oh yeah. Your don't eat red
Don't
paint.
eat paint.
Yeah. Don't eat paint. Yeah. All right, Ryan, this conversation,
but it's mine.
Yeah. Where did that come from? The don't eat paint.
Don't eat paint was because every time we would bring up strategies in the Married Red Pill, is you talk about something like catch and release. The idea of still going out to game women, just don't fuck them. And that way you can practice your game, keep it sharp, and you'll see if it's your wife finds you unattractive or if everybody finds you unattractive. And every time you'd give any piece of advice, there'd always be some guy complaining about the lowest common denominator. Well, hey, some retard might find this place, and if he follows this advice, he's going to ruin his life. And I started equating that to like a don't eat paint warning. It's like, if you don't know at this point not to eat lead paint, then I could give you the best advice in the world and you're still going to fuck it up. So I'm like, so as a joke, I always called like the don't eat paint warning.
Okay.
And I'm like, stop. And it's from the military. You know how every time you were trained, it was always trained to the lowest common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate that stuff. So I'm like, no, I don't want to help guys who are too clueless to parse language and apply it to their life. So no, those guys can burn. I want to help guys who actually have a clue, have an idea, share notes with guys who are worth the damn, and fuck the rest of them. And that's where the don't eat paint came from. The T-Rex is a little bit more juvenile, but whatever. That was a NoFap November thing where everybody's talking about how they lay off their masturbation for November. And then Mish, our Saudi Arabian friend, are you saying, yeah, if you were a T-Rex, your arms wouldn't reach, you'd always pass. And so it was the idea of like master of your domain. Steinfeld reference for you there. But it's a good inside joke. It's pretty juvenile, but whatever.
I like it. A lot of your jokes, honestly, are kind of juvenile, but I get a kick out of them. So,
oh yeah.
All right, guys. The book is Fuck Files, spelled with 2 C's, and you should definitely read it. All right, Ryan, where can people find you online?
Oh, that's easy. YouTube. Look for Ryan Stone, the channel. I got a second channel. It's a gaming channel, Digital Ryan, and that's just if you want to, chill, relax. It's mostly the audience swapping notes while I, give them a reason to congregate, as well as my blog, ryanstone.com. The merch we had just talked about is at store.ryanstone.com. So you can see a lot of my own writings, a lot of my own blog. It'll also have links to the book, which is at Amazon and Kobo. And I think that's it. Oh, yeah, and then there's Twitter, _Ryan_Stone. You can't miss me. I'm the guy who's just talking mad shit all the time. Like, I don't know why you'd follow it, but it's there if you want it.
You have an Instagram account too, but you're like almost never on it, right?
Yeah, it's because, dude, it's like 5 social media things. You can't do everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, just taking photos of me standing in front of Lambos and yachts was like, that's the thing I can go. I can only take so many pictures of what I'm cooking, what I'm eating, and in front of my view in my condo. It starts to get a little derivative after a while,
Yeah. Makes sense.
In the last 2 years, it's not like we can travel, so I can't do the standard alpha male thing and take pictures from first class or any shit like that. So
yeah. Hopefully
I'll pick it
up
again later.
Yeah. When all this stuff goes away, this COVID bullshit.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. Crossing my fingers. All right, Ryan, thanks for joining me, man. I'll let you get back to your day.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Ryan, thanks again for joining me today. Really great conversation. Still bothers me just a little bit. It hurts right here that you think that my Twitter videos are cringe. I'm just playing. I actually don't give a shit. Your book is really great, though. I highly recommend it. I know you said in the Twitter DMs that it's no Bible, but I think you're selling it pretty short. It's actually a very informative book and also very entertaining. So, guys, go in the description, check it out, and give it a read. I think you guys will really like it. Also, while you're in the description, check out some of our sponsors, like Duke Cannon. Love Duke Cannon products. And if you're having a hard time on like Tinder or something like that, why don't you try another dating app? Zoosk is also in the description. You can try a free trial of Zoosk using my link in the description, and they'll know that I sent you. I met a lot of chicks on Zoosk. Anyway, that's all I have for this week, guys. We'll catch you next week on Monday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.